lot of people think the starter choices for Legend ZA is very weird, but let me tell you why it makes sense. You see, Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, Sceptile, Blaziken, and Swampert have Mega forms already. Typhlosion, Decidueye, and Samurai have new variants from Legends Arceus. Inteleon, Cinderace, and Rilladoom are still competitively popular. Skeletors, Meowscarada, and Quaquaval are too recent. Greninja, Delphox, and Chestnut will most likely appear in the game anyways. And Empoleon, Torterra, and Infernape already appeared in Legends Arceus too, leaving Tepig as the only fire starter that wasn't touched. Chikorita and Snivy as the only grass starters, and Totodile and Popplio for the water starters. And seeing how desperately that Meganium needs a buff, they went with that. And seeing as Feraligatr also hasn't been touched in just as long, they also went with that too. Meganium could be getting bigger in Legends ZA, and here's why. You see, if you didn't know, the Chikorita line is based off of the dinosaur group, the Sauropoda, the long-necked herbivores that you are used to seeing in the Jurassic Park films. But Meganium currently is only 5'11", which means it's actually a really tiny version of those dinosaurs. Now we know the X and Y games currently take place in France, and it so happens that a couple years ago they actually dug up a sauropodal dinosaur fossil in France called the Titanosaurus. And just like the name says, these dinosaurs were estimated to be really big, as long as like 37 meters, which is 120 feet long, and they weighed in at like 76 tons. And I will say the Titanosaurus is not really a well-known group of sauropods, but seeing as it's the only dinosaur I could find similar to Meganium that was discovered in France, I could find this to be a potential basis of what Chikorita may turn into in Legends ZA. Feraligatr could become way scarier in Pokemon Legends ZA, and here's why. Now, as I've said in the other two Kalos starter speculation videos, Kalos is based in France, except in mainland France, they currently do not have any native species of croc/alligator reptilians. That's why I decided to do some digging and found what I believe could be a potential Kalos form for Feraligatr. Meet the Iberosuchus slade, an extinct native croc that was found in western parts of Europe 40 million years ago, that extended from Spain to France. Not much is known about this reptilian group except that it was a very agile predator that primarily stayed on land instead of water, like most crocs that we know today. And I can see Feraligatr taking the style of croc, as it will turn into a agile reptilian that could be favorable for the new style of battling in Pokemon Legends ZA. Emboar will be looking vastly different in Legends ZA, and here's why. As we all know, the Kalos region is based on the country of France, and it turns out that in the southwest region of France, up in the mid-Pyrenees mountains, there's a species of pigs called the Gascon pig. This pig is a rare breed because how slow it tends to breed, and its population is considered to be endangered. They also tend to be very fatty and have high tolerances to hot climates. Despite all that, they are considered to be one of the most vigorous and healthy breeds of pigs there are, and is speculated to be an ancient breed of pigs, making this a solid basis for what Tepig could shape up to be. But here's food for thought. With Paldea being close to Kalos geographically, could this version of Tepig be closely related to the Lechonk line? There's two major things that you should definitely pay attention to regarding Mega Evolution in Pokemon Legends ZA. See, you might not have noticed in the trailer, but if you look down at the UI, you can see that Mega Evolution is actually on a time limit this time, unlike what it was in X and Y when it was just your Pokemon Mega Evolved and it just kind of lost it if it got knocked out. Another thing that you might have missed is in the segment where they showed off the Mega Pokemon, you might have noticed that all the Pokemon that were battling the Mega Pokemon could also Mega Evolve, with the exception of Garbodor. Does that mean he's possibly getting a Mega Evolution this time? I think I just figured out Pokemon Legends ZA's plot, and it's hidden within the text of Zygarde's bio on the official Pokemon Legends ZA website. You see, Zygarde 10% form really shows up as it gathers in places that might actually harm the natural surroundings of the fellow Pokemon, and it gathers more cells as it detects more and more threats to the natural ecosystem and battle whoever threatens it. And I think with Lumio City being developed into a futuristic hub by a big CEO, I think man will step too far in the way of trying to subjugate the natural forces. I think what Lumio City wants to do is very thoughtful for the people in Pokemon integrating together, but I think they are being a little too ambitious, and it'll come to bite the CEO back in the butt with Zygarde appearing whenever the natural habitats of the Pokemon are just made into artificial sections in the city. The biggest evidence is in the title itself. Notice how the Z wraps around the A and signifying that Zygarde may even attack the Prism Tower because it's the symbol of man's arrogance. After all, the same guy that made that mistake is actually just ZA in reverse. This could be one of the hidden features in Pokemon Legends ZA that could be really huge. You see, we know the whole game takes place within the confines of Lumio City, which really separates us from the challenges of the 8 gyms. But if you know anything about the old anime with Ash, Pokemon Journeys, you would understand that the Rotom phone is actually doing something we've already seen before. You see, I think the Lumio City gym will be shut down. See, as Lumio City begins to redevelop and expand, I think it'll attract Pokemon trainers from all around the world, starting a Pokemon World Tournament that we've seen in Pokemon Journeys, and we also seen in Black and White too. So maybe we could see the return of some old gym leaders, Elite Four members, and champions as well. These Pokemon need Mega Evolutions. Snorlax, because the big guy needs some love. Meganium, I mean, it's just bad. Mightyena, cool Pokemon, bad stats. Bastiodon, imagine a big battering ram as a Mega Pokemon. Lusharna, imagine if all his internal dreams suddenly came out into hellish nightmares. Delphox, I mean, it's just the worst out of the 3. Primarina, same reason as Delphox. Corviknight, well, I mean, it just will look cool. And Tinkaton, I mean, Corviknight's here, so why not Tinkaton as well? Click my profile for the Pokemon that don't deserve Megas. These Pokemon definitely don't need Megas. Charizard Z, come on, we already know you have favorites, Game Freak. Let's see, please do not bring this thing back to meta. Kecleon, I mean, we have better choices for Gen 3. Rhyperior, I feel like it would just be Tyranitar 2.0. Unfezant, just the worst Pidgeot. Aegislash, this thing does not need to come back to the meta either. Incineroar. Cinderace, Game Freak just likes fire types being OP. Armarouge and Ceruledge, I feel like Tinkaton is just a better option here. Follow my profile to see which Pokemon I think need Mega Evolutions. So, how many Megas will we get in Pokemon Legends ZA? Well, that's hard to say, but you see, I might have a rough estimate. In X and Y, we get a total of 28 Megas, while in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, we got a total of 20 Megas, making the grand total of Megas guaranteed to be in the game at some point at least a total of 48. And with 48 Mega capable Pokemon, all the evolution lines included would fill up about 95 Pokedex slots max. That's including Megas like Rayquaza and subtracting the Primals, of course. Now, we know that XY originally introduced 72 new Pokemon, which was actually the smallest amount we've seen. That brings the total number of entries so far to 167. A trend that recent Pokemon games follow was a debut launch with 400 Pokemon in the Pokedex, so we'll use that number to roughly estimate the max that can be at a game at launch. That leaves 233 slots available for Legends ZA's Pokedex. Here's the Mega estimate part. Now, on average in both X and Y and Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, roughly 10% of the Pokemon in the game's local dex could Mega Evolve. Now, taking that logic into account with the max at 233 speculated slots in Pokemon left, we could see in upwards of 23 new Mega Evolutions in Pokemon Legends ZA, which isn't too far-fetched seeing as in the previous games it was 20 and 28. Comment down below what new Mega you would like to see, because me personally, I think Talonflame really deserves a Mega at this point.